Okay, guys, welcome back. I'm going to help you understand this topic of developing and maintaining relationships, choosing wholesome friends and a life partner. This is going to help you choose to have certain wholesome individuals in your life, but I'm going to teach you how to do this without conceit, without arrogance, without ego. Because if you look down on people and think of them in negative ways, this is only going to hurt your own mind. So you would like to make these choices without conceit, without ego. But it is wise to make decisions to have wholesome people into your life, because you're going to tend to be influenced by those things. Whereas if you have unwholesome people in your life, you're going to tend to be influenced by those things. The Buddha talks in his teachings about how important it is to have wholesome friends in your life. And a life partner is a very significant individual in your life. So whether it's a friend or a life partner, having these individuals involved in your life is going to make a difference in how you experience your day-to-day life. So I'll share these details with you guys, and all of you guys are welcome to ask questions, whether it's here at the temple or anyone online. You guys can all ask questions. So just like all of these talks that I give, it's important to acquire wisdom. You're going to need to have wisdom about the teachings of the Buddha. And this first section, I'm going to teach about friends in a life partner. And then at the end, I'm going to teach you how to select a life partner. So you're going to need wisdom of the teachings of the Buddha, wisdom about the natural law of karma, because it's your life, your decisions, and your results, and who you choose to involve in your life really matters. So it's important to make decisions based in wisdom. The Buddha has this great discourse where he talks about the snake has passed through feces. He describes how it may not bite you, but it's going to smear you with the feces. What he's talking about here is, like, let's just say I have a childhood friend who we've been friends since I'm maybe 8-10 years old, and we've been hanging out for a long time, right? And now maybe we're 25 years old. And now let's just say somewhere around the age of 16 or 18, this individual started selling drugs. Illicit drugs. And I've always known that they've sold illicit drugs. They've never offered them to me. They've never tried to sell them to me, but it's something that I've always known. But because of this relationship, I've just been clinging to it and holding on to it, rather than realizing that it's unwise to spend time with an individual who's actively selling illegal drugs, because this snake can smear you. It might not bite you, but it might smear you. So say we're driving down the street, we're in my car, I get pulled over for speeding or running a red light or something like this, and the police pull me over. And say my friend has cocaine in their bag, and while I'm not looking and the police isn't looking, they slip it under my chair of the car. Well, now maybe for one reason or another, the police officer decides to search the car, and now the cocaine's under my chair. Who's going to go to jail in this situation? It's going to be me, right? So this is like the snake hasn't bitten me, but it smeared me with feces, right? Or say we're walking down the street, we're on our way to go get something to eat, and a rival drug dealer sees my friend and they start shooting a gun in order to try to kill my friend. Well, I'm there too. One of these bullets can easily hit me, right? So the Buddha teaches you about making wise choices to make sure you're not around unwholesome people, because you can be impacted by that, because it's your decisions that are leading to that. And the way that you can make decisions about who to involve in your life without having conceit or arrogance or looking down on people or being judgmental is that you use the 5 precepts as a guide. Because if you understand the 5 precepts of killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, and taking substances, if you know that those things would be unwise for you, well, if you involve anybody in your life that's choosing to do those things, it's going to cause difficulties and struggles within your life. So if you have a friend or a life partner who's regularly lying, or having sexual misconduct, or taking substances that cause heedlessness, this is going to produce difficulties and struggles within your own life. So while your friends might not know these teachings as the 5 precepts, you know them as the 5 precepts, and you know the natural laws, so you can actually make decisions through the 5 precepts about who to involve in your life. Whereas if you see your friends are regularly lying, or your life partner is having sexual misconduct, or people are taking substances that cause heedlessness or stealing or things like this, it would be really wise to consider whether or not to involve that person in your life or not, because this is going to impact you by choosing to have them in your life. And you don't need to look down on them, right? If somebody's using substances that cause heedlessness, that's where they're at in their life. I was at that place at one time in my life. You might have been in that place at one time in your life. But this person who's in that place in their life, they're struggling and they're having difficulties. And me continuing to spend time with that person isn't going to produce beneficial results or wholesome results in our life. So you might think twice about whether or not you would spend time with that person because you can get smeared, like the Buddha's talking about with the snake that passes through feces. Wholesome friends are wise friends. People who are choosing to make wise choices in their life, that's the type of friends that you're looking for, right? So not the only person who's going to be perfect in their decision making is an enlightened being. But for other beings, they're going to be sometimes imperfect in the way that they're making decisions. But you would like to look at the impact of the decisions that they're making and make sure that you're selecting wise friends who are making wise decisions about the things in their day-to-day life. It's helpful if an individual understands and practices non-clinging and non-attachment. If you have friends that are attached to you, this is going to cause difficulties in your relationships because they're going to get discontent, they're going to get frustrated, they're going to blame you, and now you guys are going to have challenges because of it. So just like I was giving advice before, where like if you have a friend that's constantly calling you, say they call you, they don't get you, and then they call you back, and they call you back, and they call you back. This is showing that they're attached. So when your friend calls you, don't answer the phone. Even if you're sitting right there and you could easily answer the phone, don't answer the phone. Wait an hour or two or three to call them back, or a day or two and call them back, because this is going to help their mind to understand you are impermanent, and it's going to help them to eliminate their attachment. You're not being rude. You haven't done anything disrespectful. It's just that you're creating an environment where their mind has the opportunity to be able to eliminate its attachment. So sometimes people don't understand attachment, but if you do, you can create an environment where they don't have the opportunity to grab onto you. It's helpful to not allow other people to cling to you. So even me as a teacher, if I see a student is like constantly writing me messages and constantly every single day trying to get information from me, yeah, I'm here to help people. I'm always here to help people. But if they're constantly bombarding me with questions, especially at the very beginning, it shows me that their mind is potentially having craving, desire, attachment. And I'm interested in helping people to not cling to me, because as their teacher, I'm not permanent in their life. They're going to need to cultivate wisdom and be able to make decisions without me. But then of course, I'm supportive and I'm here to be able to help them. So if you're noticing people are constantly trying to get in touch with you, they're frustrated when they can't get in touch with you and things like this, this shows you that they're attached. So you would like to create some environment where maybe you don't answer the phone so readily. Maybe you don't answer their text messages so quickly and things like this. Maybe sometimes you do and sometimes you don't. There's students that I'll text as they're asking me questions, and I'll be chatting with them, and in the middle of the conversation, I might go away for a day or two, maybe even 3, where I don't reply to them to that particular conversation. And that's okay. You're not being rude. This is just impermanence. And their mind's going to need to learn how to experience that and be completely peaceful and joyful, even though there's that impermanence there. Sometimes I even will read messages so they can see that I've read it, and then I don't reply for like 2 or 3 days, just to help their mind to not be longing, yearning for an answer. So you can do this with your friends and a life partner as well. It's helpful if people understand true love. People typically don't understand true love, and they will be putting their expectations on you. So where you see that occurring, it's helpful to help them to understand what true love is. Sometimes people like to send their family or friends a little link to a video where I've taught about true love, or maybe they'll suggest for them to read the chapter in the book, because the chapter in the book's easily accessible. It's chapter 15, volume 1, chapter 15. It's important for people to know what true love is and to be able to practice that. Politeness, kindness, friendliness, and respect is the foundation for every healthy relationship. If you're going to have a healthy relationship, you need to be polite, kind, friendly, respectful, and so does the other person. But understand, it's only an enlightened being that can be polite, kind, friendly, respectful in every situation. So if you've got a friend that you guys have been friends for a year or 2 or 3 or what have you, and every once in a while they're impolite, unkind, unfriendly, and disrespectful, okay, you can overlook that, right? No harm, no foul. But if you're meeting someone for the very first time or the first or second visit and they're being impolite, unkind, unfriendly, disrespectful right up front, this is going to show you where the relationship is headed, and you probably would think twice about whether to be involved with that person or not. The Buddha teaches these, 5 things that every relationship needs in order for there to be a success in the relationship. He talks about giving, that you would like to be generous in your relationships, that you would like to have endearing speech, right? This is like using right speech, that you would like to have beneficent conduct or good, wholesome, virtuous, moral conduct. And there needs to be equality in relationships. The Buddha was talking about this in terms of like marriages, but it's also true for friendships as well. So this is where you can see that the Buddha never taught that men or women are above each other or below each other. He taught everybody's equal, right? That's what he taught. So for me, like with my wife, I oftentimes will practice generosity with her. I might be at the market, I see some avocados, I know that she likes avocados, and I bring her home some avocados, right? Practice some generosity with the people around you. When you talk with people, be very sweet and endearing, using gentle speech. Have good, wholesome moral conduct around people, because based on the type of conduct that you have, people are going to reciprocate that. So if you're practicing good, wholesome moral conduct from the Eightfold Path, people will tend to practice that with you. And then make sure your mind thinks of yourself as equal, and that you consider everybody to be equal in the relationship. If you think you're above or below the person that you're in a relationship with, this isn't going to promote a healthy relationship. It's helpful to eliminate confrontation, where you don't have to necessarily get people to agree with you in every single situation. There is the ability to discuss and disagree in a polite, kind, friendly, respectful way. You don't have to crave permanent agreement. There were times in my relationship with my wife where, I was really longing, yearning, wanting her to agree with me on a particular topic. And it was like a fight to death. It was like two animals fighting to death in order to get each other to agree with each other. If you eliminate that from your relationships, they will be so much more harmonious. So if somebody's trying to argue with you and try to get you to agree with them, just understand you don't have to do that. You can just choose to end the conversation and move on. You don't have to say, yes, I agree with you, when you really don't. And you also don't have to say, I disagree, because if they're angry and bitter and harsh already, and they hear you disagree with them, they're going to be even more bitter and harsh. But you also shouldn't shy away from telling someone that you disagree with them too. You can do that in a polite, friendly, and respectful way. It's just like with children, it's important to understand that you're not going to know the full story. You shouldn't assume that you know the full story. When you have friends and family members or a life partner, you're not always going to know the full story. I'll tell you guys this one story, that one time my wife used to do massage. She still does, actually. She does massage out of our home. And one time I was off at work, and as far as I knew, my wife didn't have any massage appointments that day because she was off of work. And when I came home early from work, and I saw her shoes at the front of the apartment, and I saw another pair of shoes, which were obviously a male's shoes. And I heard inside the room, I heard all this giggling and laughing that was going on inside the room. And right away, my mind thought, she must be with another man. Maybe she's having sex. I don't know, right? And I didn't go in. I was just like waiting outside, because I was like, hey, they're going to have to come outside at some point. Let's see what's going on here. Well, when she came out, she was dressed in her massage uniform. She didn't know that I was there. I wasn't even supposed to be there. She was in her massage uniform. She just came out to wash her hands, and she was like, hi, honey. And she just smiled and said hello, right? Well, if I assumed that just because she wasn't supposed to be working, and there's a male shoes, and they're in the room giggling and laughing, if I assumed that I knew the full story, I would think that maybe she's in there having sex with this other man, when in reality, what I found out was that this person had a very significant issue. He called her up, even though she wasn't working. She decided to invite him in for an appointment, even though it was her only appointment that day, that she just made like an ad hoc appointment because she was trying to help this guy. So don't assume that you know the full story, because you're going to encounter things like that where your mind can maybe run away from what is the real true facts, and you're not interested in clinging to any kind of perceptions. Be a very good problem solver, where you're looking at situations as a challenge, not a problem, right? Because there's going to be certain challenges that you encounter with friends and with a life partner. Me and my wife encountered multiple challenges throughout our relationship, and we became very good at problem solving, at coming together, discussing the challenges that we faced, and then implementing a solution. So you're going to need to do that with your friends and family. So introduce ideas and solutions and find what works best for everybody involved. And that might not be your idea all the time. Be willing to listen to other people's ideas and come up with a joint solution that's going to work for everyone. Remember to take your time in, yes. I'm not sure. Is that for me? Okay, thank you. Okay. We just had a delivery person come in for all you guys online. So take your time with acquiring friends and a life partner. Sometimes people want to hurry up and get lots and lots of friends, or hurry up and get a life partner, where you don't need to hurry. Because if you hurry, there's going to be craving there, and you're going to tend to make an unwise decision. You're not interested in just hurrying up and getting lots of friends and a life partner. You're interested in getting wholesome friends and a wholesome life partner, because who you choose to involve in your life is going to make a big difference. The way that I think about a life partner is like if you were running a company and you had to select like a CEO for your company. That's a very important position at the company. Whoever works in that job, your company is going to live, breathe, or die based on who you select as the CEO. Well, in your life, this position as a life partner, it's like a person selecting a CEO. Your life is going to be experiencing lots of experiences based on who you select, and you shouldn't be in a hurry to select that person. It would be better to live alone than to select someone who, oh my goodness, is into drugs and alcohol and lying and sexual misconduct and spending money without any thoughts or any ideas about what they're spending their money on and things like this. You would like to make wise decisions. So take your time. Don't be in a hurry to acquire friends or a life partner, because whoever you choose to spend your life with, you're going to be with them potentially for the rest of your life, and you would like to really make sure it's a wise decision about who you're choosing. Look at how they treat other people, whether it's a friend or a potential life partner. If you guys go out together and they treat taxi drivers really lovingly and kindly, or impolite and disrespectfully, that tells you something about how this person interacts with other people. Or like a food server, if you're at a restaurant, look at how they treat the food server. Do they treat them very lovingly and respectfully, or are they really disrespectful and unkind to this person? Because how they treat those people is going to determine how they treat you. So maybe right now you're in the honeymoon phase of your relationship and they're treating you really great, but the way that they treat other people is going to help you to be able to see how they're ultimately going to end up treating you. Also, the way that they talk about other people, right? If they're talking about their family and their friends and their ex-boyfriends and girlfriends in a degrading and disparaging way, what they're explaining to you is that they don't know how to have relationships with other people in a harmonious way, that they don't know how to have harmonious relationships, and that they're gossiping and slandering. So if they're sitting there degrading and disparaging their mom, their dad, their brothers, their sisters, their ex-boyfriends and ex-girlfriends, oftentimes people are there with craving, just wanting to be with this person, and they look past all of that. But what they're actually telling you is that they don't know how to have healthy relationships yet, because they haven't cultivated that wisdom yet. And you're the next ex-girlfriend or the next ex-boyfriend that they're going to be bad-mouthing and slandering. So look at how they treat others and how they talk about others as well. Make sure you understand that your goal in choosing a life partner or friends is not to please other people. It's your choices. Oftentimes people think that they need to please their parents or their siblings by who they choose as a life partner. But those people have chosen their life partners potentially, or they've chosen their friends. It's your choices about your life. So you're not trying to please others through your choices. There were times where if I would have listened to my family about who to be with, I would have been single my entire life because there was nobody that I could bring home as a girlfriend that my family liked. They didn't like anybody, right? Because it was like, hey, that's my brother, or hey, that's my son. They didn't like anybody. So if you just listen to your friends or family, you might actually find that there's nobody that's sufficient in their eyes to be able to be your boyfriend or girlfriend. So you're not trying to please others through your choices. You would understand that it's your life, your decisions, and your results, and make decisions that you know to be wise, not just because you're trying to please others. As you have friends or a life partner, understand that they're going to change, that you're going to need space for growth. In the life that me and my wife have, when we first started out, I was a business owner. I was wealthy. I had a lot of money. And things changed. Now I'm not that. I'm not a business owner. I don't have a lot of money. And if my wife was craving for me to be that same person that she met however many years ago, she wouldn't be content and happy right now. Or like when I first met her, she used to do our laundry. She used to clean the house. She used to wash clothes. She used to cook dinner. She used to have 5 different entrees when I would come home after work. But she was unemployed when I first met her, and she had time to be able to do all that stuff. Where now she's got her own business. She has a son. She has her own things that she's attending to. I do all my own laundry now. I take care of all my own food because I eat vegan now. Back then, I didn't eat vegan, and she doesn't know how to make vegan food. So if we expect the person that we're going to meet and date at the very beginning to be that exact same person all the way throughout our life, we're going to be very discontent when they start changing, because they will change, because of the universal truth of impermanence. My wife and I have been together for 18 years now. She's a completely different person than she was when I first met her. And I am too. And that's okay. Sometimes people think that if there's change, there's something wrong with that. I was just talking to a student the other day, and his girlfriend told him, like, I'm not sure if I'm interested in you learning all that Buddhism stuff because you're going to change. And his response to her was like, no matter what, even if I don't learn Buddhism, I'm still going to change, right? Everybody's going to change, right? So change is not a bad thing. So leave space for growth, because people are going to change. Okay, so this is friends and a life partner. But now I'm going to go in and talk about just specifically for a life partner. It's important to understand that the perfect life partner doesn't exist. It's only within your own mind. Sometimes we have this imaginary person that we're looking for. Some people call it our soul mate. That person doesn't exist. It's only living in your own mind. So the person that you meet is going to be imperfect. And if you understand that and they understand that, that's really helpful, because you're not finding Prince Charming or Princess Charming that's going to complete you and fulfill all your desires. That's not what you're finding. You're going to be finding an imperfect being who is struggling in the world just like you. And if you understand that, then you can go into this relationship understanding that both of you need to do work in order to become a better and better person, that you're not going to be finding this perfect being in life. It's important to develop skills early on in your relationship with your life partner where you guys can problem solve together, because that's really what it means to be a life partner with each other, is you're supporting and encouraging each other in life, and you're able to help each other to grow and develop and solve certain challenges. So if you guys develop problem solving skills early in your relationship, that's going to be really helpful for you. It's helpful to understand that an official marriage is not required in order for two people to choose to be together long term and love each other and enjoy each other all the way into your adult life and until you guys die. Oftentimes we feel like official marriage is the end all be all, but essentially all that is going to the government and reporting to the government who you're going to spend the rest of your life with. And you don't really have to do that. It's not required for you to do that. Some people do choose to do that, and that might be something you choose to do, but just understand it's not required. You can even have a ceremony and everything without even going to the government to actually officially sign the documents if you'd like. There's no such thing as meeting and then living happily ever after. We hear that in fairy tales growing up as a kid, and we might kind of condition our mind to think that that's what it is. We're going to meet a person and then we're going to live happily ever after. But really, instead, what's actually happening is it's that you're going to meet each other, you learn each other, you work on developing skills and abilities to solve problems with each other. You learn to communicate. You learn to have discussions. You learn to be friends. You learn to not want anything from each other. You learn to be interested in seeing your partner be well and succeed. You support, encourage, and motivate each other to accomplish whatever they'd like to accomplish without putting any expectations or controlling conduct into the relationship. And then you live happily ever after. And that's the way it really happens, right? So it's not meet and then live happily ever after. You've got all these other things that you need to be able to work on in order to live happily ever after. So it's important to understand that there's a lot of work involved in developing a relationship and actually accomplishing these kinds of things. It's helpful to spend time doing different activities with your partner, because when you guys meet and you're dating, by the way, this dating process that we call it dating, here in Thailand, they call it learning each other. That they will spend about 3 months, 6 months learning each other and deciding whether or not this is somebody that you could actually spend time with and actually live long term with. So when you're learning each other how you communicate, how you solve problems, how you do things with each other, during this learning process, during this dating process, what we typically do in the West is we go to someone's house, we pick them up, we go out to dinner, we go out to the movies, whatever it is that we're going to do, and then we're done with our date or whatever it is that we're going to do. So we're spending all of our time with each other 100% of the time. Well, then you ultimately get to a point where you get married or you move in together, and it's not that anymore. It's not that you're spending 100% of your time with each other anymore. There's other things to do. You're going out with other friends. You're doing laundry while they're watching TV, or you're reading a book while they're outside doing some yard work or something like this. So in the dating process, in the learning process, if you learn to do these kinds of things where you have dates where like they come over to your house, maybe you watch a movie together, and maybe you go off and read a book while they're doing something else. Like you're in the same building with each other, but you're actually doing two different things. This is actually really helpful for you, because by the time you guys move in together or get married or whatever it is, you're going to be doing things like that, where you're off doing different things, and that's okay. Or say you go to like a family event and maybe you're off having conversation with some people and they're off having conversation with other people, and this is okay. And your mind can get comfortable with doing these kinds of things. It's helpful to keep in mind that changes are going to occur. Life changes as well as the changes in appearance. As we age, there's going to be changing to appearance. And if we crave that youthful appearance of our partner, then as they age and their body starts to deteriorate, if we're craving permanent youthfulness, we might end an otherwise really wonderful relationship just to go get the new, the new young being that's off, out of college or something like that. So it's important to understand that we're all going to age, and it's okay, and that we shouldn't crave permanent youthfulness of our partner. That way we can maintain our relationships even as the body starts to age and deteriorate. Okay. Any questions on this? You have questions? Yeah. And those of you guys online, you guys can ask questions by putting that into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom.
Okay. This is not really related to the topic, but it's also, I think, important. I read the other day that it's important to have like something that make you feel safe in your life, at least one thing, like believing in something, like God, a person that is going to be there for you, or something that is, you can believe in death, which is going to happen anyways, but I'm thinking about something else. And for insecure people, could be, I don't know how to call it, like a stone that you can just come back to feel, to feel here and to be present and to just navigate life.
Mm-hmm. So if you feel safe with this thing, whether it's a person or a belief or a stone or something like that, that thing is impermanent. So if you can only feel safe when you have that thing, that's a conditioned feeling. That safety is conditioned. And now when you don't have that thing with you, you don't feel safe anymore. So by you getting rid of attachment, you'll actually feel safe, because what you come to understand with the natural law of karma is everything you experience is a result of your decisions. So if you're making wise decisions, there's nothing harmful that's going to come back to you. That's how you get to safety. That's how you get to protection. That's how you get to security, or the Buddha calls it a refuge, that your mind is in refuge. It's protected because now you realize that there's nothing external that's going to make you feel safe, that these things are all impermanent. So if you only feel safe when you have that rock with you, that rock is not permanent. So now when you don't have it, you don't feel safe. So you're not interested in setting yourself up like that. So you'll see all kinds of misunderstandings and delusion and confusion out there in the world about these kinds of things. And that's just because they're not understanding attachment. And if you set yourself up like that, you might feel safe when you have your stone, but when you don't have your stone, you're not going to feel safe. So you would like to get to the point where you understand the natural law of karma and wise decision making, because that's where the real safety is in your decision making. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I have another one. What to do when you meet someone and you like them, but you don't see consistency in their actions, or you don't see like a genuine interest towards you?
You got to look beyond your cravings to be with that person, because sometimes we are attached or craving their physical appearance or their wealth or intellect or social status or something like that. If this person isn't interested in being with you, then just move on, because they're not interested. And if you try to force that situation, it's not going to work out. So if this person isn't interested in spending time with you, it's best to just move on and just eliminate any attachment that you have to wanting to be with that person.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome. Okay, so this brings us to an end for today. We're going to end our class here for today. Tomorrow, I'm going to pick it up with helping you guys to understand the path to enlightenment, practicing the path in the workplace. Then I'm going to share with you the art of the friendly no, how to say no without saying no. And then we're going to talk about continued support and integrating the teachings into your day-to-day life. So whatever you do today, have a very wonderful and lovely rest of your day. And perhaps we'll see you in a future class. สวัสดีครับ